I'm Don.
And hi, I'm Cindy. Welcome to Pearls of Liberty. Today is Saturday, June 22nd, 2013. And we have a few articles that are kind of linked at the beginning. Just that there are a lot of rumors that something very significant is happening, that the corporate government that was put in place in the time of the Civil War when Congress lost a quorum is said to be in the process of being replaced by a constitutional republic as government of the United States. So that's a part of the rumor, and there's also buzz about Wanta, the Wanta Reagan Miterrand funds that are supposedly going to be released to benefit all of mankind. And these are persistent rumors, and there seems to be some credibility, but it's kind of difficult to know what the reality is here.
Yeah, we can't give you a current link on some of the stuff, particularly about the restoration of the Republic, because that was just a heading up at the top of nsarnews.blogspot.com. But like Cindy said, they're persistent rumors, and there seems to be in chat groups some stuff that's backing that up. Multiple people are saying it and saying it was confirmed, etc. So we could be on the verge of something very big being revealed. I personally also suspect that people like Alex Jones are in the know about this kind of thing being about to happen and are preparing for it, because what I see happening is, and this is also in the realm of rumor, but in chat groups, that Obama is positioning himself to look like a savior. That's not hard to believe, is it? This is Mr. Narcissist himself about to pose as the man who brought you the restoration of the Republic. So I see Alex Jones furiously working on his new Obama deception film in order to help prevent that from happening. So there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes that we can't give you chapter and verse for, but Cindy did find a good article that's an overview of the Wanta Reagan Miterrand protocols, and that will sort of point you in the right direction, and that has been going on for a long time. Those funds are supposed to benefit the world, but actually probably more specifically Americans, that these are funds that were set aside for the American people during the Reagan administration, and there was a lot of good things that were happening there that got sidelined and shelved when the Bush cabal began to take over, working within the shadows of what Reagan was trying to accomplish through people like Leo Wanta. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff there, and if you want to be aware of this when it all breaks, I think that would be a good thing, because a lot of people are going to be in shock. I believe this is going to happen, so that this unveiling of this kind of stuff is going to happen, and if you can be informed now, then you can help other people understand and prevent some of the chaos that could otherwise occur.
And Don and I don't have any insider information by any stretch of the imagination. We read these blogs, and there are a lot of them, and we see a lot of stories, a lot of rumors. We don't always share them. In fact, we rarely do, just because it's really difficult to back them up, and we sometimes float these things out there. Alex Jones won't even touch most of these issues because they're so difficult to prove and so rumor-based. And of course, there is a danger in having these hopes placed on things that may or may not occur. When we're looking for some future event that's not absolutely guaranteed to happen, and of course the reality is no future event is absolutely guaranteed to happen. But it's not emotionally healthy to be on a roller coaster anticipating change that may not come. And John Rappaport kind of addressed that issue in this blog.
Yeah, this is today's blog by John Rappaport. It's really excellent, as almost all of his stuff is. And he doesn't answer any questions here. This is mostly in the context of Snowden and is he a good guy or a bad guy, and what's really going on beneath the surface. Is this some kind of a play? The main thing he's talking about is the psychological manipulation of the Matrix. And if you are on an emotional roller coaster that does not result in actual action and actually changing the world, then you have to question whether you're just being manipulated and living your life based on some false reality. So this is a good reality check for a lot of us that do have, that are hoping for a better world. And part of what we do to help bring that world about is talk about it. And we believe that awareness of what's wrong and what we want to do with the future are hopes that putting that stuff out there, that helps make it real. So that's why we do this blog. And we are wanting to do something real and have real heroes, and that's why we have to scrutinize everything. So anyway, we recommend this blog by John Rappaport.
And some of the promises that Glenn Beck has been making, tomorrow I'm going to announce something that's going to, overthrow the government, revolutionize American life, whatever. We've actually kind of wondered if that could be real. We want it to be real. But we've wondered, based on some other circumstances that we've been in, where people have been on an emotional roller coaster with kind of empty promise rumors, whether the Glenn Beck promises have been crafted to do this very thing, to get people to ride an emotional roller coaster and be caught in the cycle of hope, elation, then disappointment, depression, and that's really just not productive.
Yeah. And all we want to say is that we're just dot connectors, and we want to share our process of dot connecting with you to hopefully help you and help each other learn how to better connect the dots, because this is an emerging, changing world, and all these data points that we get about what could be happening or might happen in the future, they really need scrutiny, and we need to scrutinize each other. So that's why we're putting this out there.
And to move into a somewhat different topic, very much reality-based, from Zero Hedge, every asset that depends on cheap, abundant credit, which includes housing, bonds, and stocks, is doomed due to four words: financialization, debtocracy, and diminishing returns.
Yeah, and as Alex Jones is constantly pointing out, this is a bubble that's about to burst, and it's all by design. And the useful thing here in the headline from Zero Hedge, Tyler Durden pseudonym, is the phrase, every asset that depends on cheap abundant credit. Well, yeah, that's pretty much everything, but some of the stuff is based in actual tangible assets, and that is going to be the valuation system of the future. That's what Basel III is about. So be thinking tangible and real, and notes pertaining to same, and you will be adjusting yourself for the future. Anything that isn't tangible could be very easily at the bottom of the heap of rubble when this whole thing begins to crumble.
It's interesting that he actually used the word housing instead of the term real estate. So I'm not sure if he did that intentionally, but what you're saying, that real estate is a tangible asset, so it might make a difference.
Well, we were talking in a week or so ago, I think, about how the real estate bubble is being artificially inflated by the cheap credit that's available to the what's the word, the trading groups that buy up housing.
REITs.
Yeah, the REITs that are being gobbled up by corporations that do that. So they have the cheap credit, so they're buying up the housing, and it's not really a valuation based in reality. So that's the differentiation there.
And here's this Skynet Rising. Google acquires 512 qubit quantum computer. NSA surveillance to be turned over to AI machines.
Yeah, and if we do go into a new financial world, I think at least part of the reason that the cabal will allow that to begin to happen, allow Basel III to happen, is because they are so sure that they have the control of the future by means of the machinery that they've created, the computing, the surveillance state that they've created. And this is just now coming into public awareness what's actually been going on. A quantum computer is not just a fancy name for the latest operating system from Microsoft or something. A quantum computer is able to run calculations in multiple dimensions and at the same time to look at one thing from multiple angles, so to speak, and to very quickly come to the solution of the problem that it's been told to work on. And that means that all forms of encryption are basically very vulnerable if a quantum computer is pointed at them, meaning that what Edward Snowden said about encryption working and keeping things secret is not true or won't be true for very long. That gives a huge weapon in the hands of the people that want to surveil and track us, because they have these artificial intelligence systems that not only gather the data, but from that data are able to forecast what you and people and basically mass movements are going to do. So they can manage reality that way. They're moving beyond money. But what they haven't counted on is a true awakening in humanity, and I believe that will blow them out of the water.
Sure, and if we're all out working in our gardens and serving people and helping people, and we leave our iPhones in a metal box somewhere, their tracking is all for unless we're chipped or something, becomes kind of a moot point.
Yeah, I think that metal box needs to have some other things, not be just metal, but like a Faraday cage. It needs to have some kind of almost like an earthen wrapping. But anyway, yeah, if you shield your electronic devices and get away from the EMFs and live a real life, you can go a long way to defeating these guys. There are still many places where you can get away from a 3G signal, and rumor is that some of those satellites that help maintain that 3G signal are not going to be up for all that much longer. So, hey, maybe there's hope.
There's always hope, I guess.
Unless you're living in the false reality of hope.
Well, that's the thing. As I just clicked on Benjamin Fulford, I was thinking maybe we should have placed him on the other side of the John Rappaport false hope news, but because Benjamin Fulford again is one of those resources that it's not mainstream media. Okay, the irony is that people tend to believe mainstream media, and mainstream media is at least as likely, if not more likely, to be based on untruths than Benjamin Fulford. But we're in the process of getting this new paradigm of how we get our news. And in this process, it's really difficult sometimes to know who is being really a straight shooter and who maybe is following their own agenda or whatever. But I know there's some interesting stuff in this week's, which the hunt is on for M1, the secret guy printing fraudulent euros and dollars for the Sabbatean Mafia.
Yeah, one of the things that does make it difficult is when these guys in the alternative media take pot shots at each other, and Benjamin definitely does that from time to time, and we like to keep our perspective broad, meaning we'll listen to him and some of the people he's taking pot shots of, some of the people that he doesn't think are as pure as him, etc., etc. So, but I think this article is worth mentioning because that he's talking about that there is at least one particular individual that is able to keep the money flowing for the bad guys in spite of the world going into the Basel III. So it is important to find this individual, assuming that Benjamin's not leading us on a wild goose chase, and I believe he's sincere, that that these guys always build backdoors into everything. They will prepare a beautiful future for you and tell you how wonderful it is and how they're going to ride off into the sunset and just live in their castles and be content, when all the while they still have a plan to dominate the world. So don't put that past them for a moment, and that's what Benjamin is focusing on here. So yeah, vigilance, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty, and we need to have that attitude continuously.
I think that one thing that Benjamin Fulford really has in his favor is that I believe he's friends with Max Kaiser. I think Max Kaiser in the past has asked Alex Jones why he doesn't have Fulford on as a guest. So, any friend of Max Kaiser's is not that we're friends with Max Kaiser, but I seriously give more credence to Fulford based on his friendship with Max Kaiser.
I actually personally don't remember that. I didn't know that they were connected, but yeah, I would think that they probably would be. They used to travel in the same circles on the dark side, and we know that Max has a personal relationship, or used to, with Steve Forbes and guys like that, and Benjamin Fulford was in fact the Asian editor of Forbes magazine. So obviously there's a connection there. So yeah, these are two very financially wise people who are very pro-liberty, and I wouldn't write them off for a moment thinking that they're somehow double, triple agents. It's just that would break my mind, trying to imagine that level of duplicity.
Yeah. Speaking of duplicity, is journalist Michael Hastings a victim of Obama's assassination policy?
Yeah, we just wanted to mention this because this is such a huge story. It was covered really well in Infowars.com, but it's a major story of the week, and it just highlights how desperate the criminals are. We would like to think that their desperation is because they have been cornered, and cornered rats fight really hard and basically don't try to keep themselves hidden anymore and just are out to pull out all the stops and kill people in broad daylight. Well, yeah, that's what they did to Jack Kennedy too. So they're coming out with these wild stories about how he had some kind of a car failure, and the car didn't leave any skid marks, and the engine was ejected out of the vehicle with this explosion. So yeah, it doesn't really sound like it was a accidental event by any means. This is a journalist that was getting ready to expose things, saying he was being followed by the FBI, etc., etc. So yeah, very, very suspicious death, and I would write that right up there with on the level of probably even more certain than the Vince Foster murder in the 90s and the stuff like that with the Commerce Secretary Brown and all of that. This is big-time assassination by the government.
And if you are seeking some entertainment this weekend. Alex Jones gave 9 out of 10 horses, based on the Paul Revere rating, to Man of Steel film.
Yeah, I really want to say that I think this idea of having this Paul Revere rating system is excellent. This is, I think, where Alex premieres that idea that they're going to have a Liberty rating system for films. And I think that is just excellent and hot. And we kind of do that same thing ourselves. I mean, Cindy and me, when we're watching films and we're noting whether, to what extent it pertains to Liberty ideals. Sometimes it's on the level of individual ethics, and sometimes it's on the level of something bigger that the film is actually teaching or exposing something. But yeah, the Man of Steel sounds like a really good film. World War Z sounds like a real downer, and the fact that Brad Pitt is backing that makes me think, yeah, that guy's working for the dark side, which is really too bad. But anyway, I'm not a huge, never have been a huge Brad Pitt fan. I'm probably more of a Tom Cruise fan than a Brad Pitt fan. At least the guy's got some, independence and is able to go outside the box. So anyway, that's a sidetrack. The Man of Steel is good. The Paul Revere rating system is excellent. Doesn't mean you have to agree with their ratings. It means that you are holding films and the media up to a standard of liberty, and that is a great thing to do.
And we hope that whatever you choose to do this weekend, you have a great weekend. We thank you for tuning in for Pearls of Liberty this week.
Keep ending it real. As always, see the world the way that it really is. See yourself in it. Walk your walk. You are the one you've been waiting for.